Guess what I finally got? I'm going to unbox this, but I'm going to wait until the end of the video. So if you want to see that, make sure you stick around. Also, at the end of the video, I am going to be answering some of your questions. I asked on my community tab for some questions about what you'd like to know about me so that you can get to know me better. So we're going to do that at the end too. But right now, I want to get into my week 3 update on my YouTube monetization challenge. Hi, I'm Tina, and I have a lot I want to cover today. First of all, we're going to talk about my progress on last week's assignments, and then I'm going to show you my analytics update. We're going to get some new assignments, and then, like I said, we're going to go through those get to know you questions and unbox my new toy. But first, I want to take a quick little detour. It occurred to me that while I have explained YouTube's full monetization level, I don't think I ever talked about YouTube's first level of monetization that they implemented last year. While this level doesn't give you access to AdSense revenue, it does provide a way to start earning some income. This first level of monetization hits when you have 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours of watch time. With that, you can gain access to memberships where you can charge a monthly fee for access to exclusive content. You also can enable subscriber income using the thanks button that shows up below your video. It is a little heart with a $sign in it. On mobile, it's in the same row with the like and dislike and share buttons. It's in there. And on desktop, you might have to click the 3 dots next to the like and dislike buttons in order to access more options there. And then for lives, you can enable the super chat, and that enables your viewers, especially in really busy chats, to give a small donation, and then their comment is highlighted, which increases the chance of it being seen and being responded to. I already have that enabled, and so it didn't occur to me initially to mention that, but if you're new and you're still working towards it, there is kind of an interim level before you get to full YouTube monetization with AdSense and all of that. Now getting into last week's assignments, let me first put it out there that this was a holiday weekend in the United States. My husband and I were both off work on Thursday and Friday, and our kids came over to celebrate the holiday with us on Friday. So I did not really get any YouTube work done on both of those days other than getting my weekly video up, which I did for Friday. Therefore, there was no additional progress made on my playlist reorganization. Another assignment last week was video planning, and I did use the tips that I talked about last week in planning this video, and I'm working on creating a YouTube content planning doc in Google Docs so that for future videos, I have all of the little bits that I want to include, and I make sure that I don't forget anything. Next on my to-do list is to script the video that I'm going to put up week after next, and I will be starting with a logline, thumbnail, and title before I do the scripting so that I can make sure that everything is cohesive and flows together the way I want it to. As for packaging, I did use some of the tips that I learned in the April Lynn Alter Make a Killer Thumbnail video that I linked in last week's video. Initially, I thought the performance started out a little slow, and so when I got through the holiday celebrations, I was going to redo that thumbnail, maybe with a little bit darker background to make it stand out and pop a little bit more. But when I woke up this morning, it had increased in performance. It was now a 3 out of 10 video, had over 100 views and a 3.2% CTR. So I think I'm going to leave it and see what happens. I did use ChatGPT to help me come up with a title. When I do this, I tell ChatGPT what the video is about, the kinds of emotions I want the title to invoke, whether that's fear or awe or curiosity or something else. I tell it any important words that I want to have included in the title. And I also tell it to put any important words in the first 50 characters. I don't necessarily limit it to 50 characters, but I want the important stuff up front. Then I tell it to give me 10 options, otherwise it'll just give you 1. From those, I can then further refine what I'm looking for. Maybe I really liked something about a couple of them. And so I'll tell it to try again, make sure to include these ideas, but maybe give me a little more of something else. Then I rarely use one of the titles that I'm given verbatim. I might take the front part of one and the back part of another, or combine the ideas in 2 or 3 of them to come up with a title, but it gives me a starting place. I do use ChatGPT quite a bit, actually, in my production, pre-production, that sort of thing. And if you'd like to have more information about how I do that, let me know down in the comments, and I can maybe include that in one of these update videos. The last assignment from last week was a carryover from week 1, and that was planning my content calendar for the whole month of July. I do have it done for the next 2 weeks. I don't have the whole month done, so we'll count that as a partial success. As far as my analytics go, it's been a pretty good week, but it's been a little bit mixed as well. I'll explain more when I'm at my computer. Going to the Earn tab, And then scrolling down, you can see that as of Saturday, I had 1,194 subscribers and 3,390 public watch hours. Last week, those numbers were 1,181 subscribers and 3,343 watch hours. So both have increased. Moving over to my analytics page, when you first land here, you are on the last 28 days by default. So if you come over and click on the little caret and select last 7 days, you can get the past week. And unfortunately, I don't have all pointing up happy green arrows. It's kind of a mixed bag. This week I had 840 views, where last week that was 1,100 views. I had 93.8 watch time hours this week, and last week that was 116. This week I am up though. I have added 10 subscribers, whereas last week I only added 7. Now, if you notice, I told you that I had 1,194 subscribers, whereas last week it was 1,181, and that's actually a change of 13. That is something you'll notice if you dig into your analytics, that there are very few numbers on these analytics page that match because there's a lag time on some of them and not on others. You just kind of have to take it as an approximation and not an absolute. Clicking onto the content page, the only number that I really look at on this page is the impressions, and it was down this week from last week. I had 16.4 thousand impressions this week. Last week, that number was 17.7 thousand. My impression click-through rate this week was also lower at 2.8% versus 3.3% last week. So there was progress. I'm happy about that. This week's assignments, I thought I would make it a focus on filming. And one of the things I'm doing, you're seeing in this video today, I am working on using 2 cameras so that I can change the camera angle. I don't know, I just thought it would be fun to try. What do you think? The other thing I want to do in my filming is to be more intentional about filming with the edit in mind. And by that I mean filming so that when I get to the editing stage, it's quicker and easier. One of the things I want to make sure that I do is if I mess up in the middle of a sentence and decide I need to repeat words or start over, that I start over at the beginning of a phrase so that there is a longer continuity of thought and not cuts every 4th word or something. The other thing that I intended to do with this video was to have more short clips rather than one long continuous recording. However, I was only able to get one of my remotes to connect to my phone, and so I could start and stop one camera, but not the other. And I wanted to be able to start and stop both cameras at the same time, use a couple of claps so that I could sync the audio, and I wasn't able to make that happen. So I'll work on that for the next video. Filming my makeup videos, or really any how to follow along kind of thing, like a craft or a cooking, or maybe even working on cars or that kind of stuff, where once you get past this section of the video, you really can't easily go back and redo it, is a little bit different than doing this talking head kind of video where I could film this in any order and it wouldn't matter. Like with this one, if I realized at the end of it that my week 1 wrap up wasn't very good, I could go back and refilm that completely. However, if I'm doing a makeup video and I mess up the blush section, I can't really easily go back and just redo that because by the time I'm done, I have a full face of makeup. So without redoing the whole thing, it's really hard to go back and just redo a section if there's a problem. Because of that, my plan going forward is going to be to film each step of that process, stopping when I finish it, looking at my notes, making sure I know what I want to say, where the B-roll is going to be, if I'm going to be explaining the product in that B-roll or while I'm putting it on my face, so I know if I need to stop talking so that I can put audio narration under it, all of that. So I want to be more intentional rather than just sitting down, filming from start to finish, and then realizing, oh, I needed to have a space here, or I forgot to say this, and there's no way to do a narration unless I do a freeze frame. The other thing that planning thumbnails ahead of time will do, especially with this makeup or process-oriented video, is making sure that I get the thumbnail images that I need because I can't really do the thumbnail necessarily ahead of time. I can plan it ahead of time, know what images I want to put into it. But by having it planned, if I need a before and an after, or I need a specific putting on of something, I can make sure that while I'm filming, I pause and do that. If you're just looking to take a picture out of a video, sometimes it's really hard to find a still spot where you don't have a weird expression on your face, and you can actually then take a still image. And then my final assignment, of course, is to figure out how to use and to break in my new gimbal. And I'm really excited to do that. On to the Q&A session. I did ask for some questions on my community tab, and I want to thank everyone who asked them. If the person who asked has a channel, I will link that down below so you can go over. If they make content that you're interested in, watch a few videos and subscribe to help them on their way, on their growth journey. If you feel inspired by any of these questions and want to answer them down in the comments, feel free to do so. I would like to get to know you better as well. From my good friend Tina at Tina's Best Midlife. She asks, what beauty or makeup product makes you feel instantly prettier and more confident? And I thought this was going to be easier actually than it was. Initially, I thought it was going to be foundation, because if I have a blemish or something like that, it might be that I'm thinking that anybody that I come in contact with, that's the first thing they're going to see. But the more I thought about it, the more I think it's actually eyeshadow. And it's not because I would ever wear just eyeshadow that I would feel weird. If I'm doing a minimal makeup look, it's going to be like mascara, blush, and lipstick. But when I put on eyeshadow, it just makes me feel like the look is more complete. It's kind of like how I feel when I put on jewelry or accessories with an outfit. They're fine without it, but there's something about the right pair of earrings or a necklace or a scarf or something that just kicks it up a notch. And that's how I feel about eyeshadow. It doesn't matter if it's just a quick one and done, or if it's a full glam, sparkle, eyeliner, the whole 9 yards kind of thing. It just makes it feel more finished and more polished. So the answer to that question for me is eyeshadow. Jen at Beautiful Life Sage, she is also on a YouTube growth journey, by the way, so make sure you go check her out and give her some support. She asked, do you prefer seeing movies at the theater or streaming at home? And what was the last movie you saw in the theater? As for streaming or seeing movies at the movie theater, I love going to the movie theater, but it also depends on what movie it is. If it's something that I am really excited to see, then yes, I want to see it on the big screen. But if it's a movie that's like, yeah, I kind of want to see that. Either it's a sequel to something and I want to, continue the story, or it looks interesting, but I don't know that I want to spend the money to go see it, then I'm fine seeing it at home. And sometimes I just want to be in my jammies snuggled up under a blanket with my family and watching it. So it kind of depends. But the last movie we saw at the theater was Inside Out 2, and it was really good. We really enjoyed it. Brenda asks, when you were a little girl, you wanted to become what? And for me, that was a professional ballerina. I even still wanted this when I was a teen, but I didn't follow that dream. And I didn't follow it because of a few reasons. One, I was scared. I was scared that I wasn't good enough. I was scared that I would have to go too far away from home to make it happen. I was scared that I would fail. So I just didn't do it. I never told anybody actually that that was my dream. So it's not like anybody discouraged me from doing it, but I also felt like in the back of my mind that maybe that wasn't an acceptable path for me. And I don't know acceptable to whom, maybe society or whatever, that there was something else that was expected of me. So I took a safer route and I had the opportunity to go to college. That wasn't a given back in 1983, by the way. My brother had gone to college. He went for a couple semesters and then he enlisted in the Navy. So I was really the first one that if I finished, I would be the first one in my family to graduate with a college degree. The problem was I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I kind of ended up with a business degree by default. I took those gen eds that first semester, and one of them was a computer coding course, which I hated, by the way. It was Fortran. Back in those days, it was still all mainframe programming. I had never used a PC until I walked into my first job after college, and there was one sitting on my desk. I had no idea what to do with it. And so I ended up with a degree in finance and marketing and worked at a large corporation in their budgeting department. I only did that for about 5 years, however, because when I had my first child, I became a stay-at-home mom and threw away my college education to stay home with my kids. Don't misunderstand. I am not unhappy with the way my life has turned out. But there are moments when I wonder, what if? And I think we all have those moments we can look back on a path where we had two choices and we went this way. And sometimes we wonder what would have happened if I'd gone that way. In fact, there have been books written and movies made about that very subject. My wonderful subscriber and friend Myrna asked, which do you prefer, dancing, acting, or singing, and why? Well, Myrna, that's a hard question. But at this stage in my life, I think I rank them acting, then singing, and then dancing. Primarily because as I get older, dancing gets harder. And so the other two are a little easier for me. I really prefer when they all come together, like in a musical. And I did just get a part in our fall musical. We are doing Hood the Musical. This is the classic tale of Robin Hood set to an 80s vibe soundtrack. If you go looking for it, there really isn't any on YouTube to see what this looks like. So I'm very interested to see how our director is going to make this show happen. I am also doing costumes for the show, so I get to have a part in bringing about the vision. While I didn't start acting until I was in my 40s, I have always loved performing. Whether it was dance or cheer or concert choir or show choir, I have just loved performing. And one of the reasons was because I was incredibly shy as a child, painfully shy. And often people would ask, if you're so shy, how can you get up there and do what you do? Well, because I could be a character up there. I could be not me. I could be someone who was brave and confident and outgoing and step into this character that wasn't me. I did do a lot of research, and while I believe this is the same one that Jen over at Silver and Sage ended up with, it wasn't a given that that's what I was going to get. I had about 3 of them that I was comparing. This one actually, when I first looked at it, was $89 on Amazon, and then when I finally decided, yep, that's the one I want, it was $99. And so I decided I would just wait a little bit, and a week later, it was back at $89 again. So if you bought much off of Amazon, you know that prices can change day to day. So maybe if something isn't on sale or there's not a coupon, if you wait just a little bit, you might be able to get a sale. I will link it down below, and it will be an affiliate link. So I'm not telling you that you need to go buy this, but if you are going to get some gear, or even if you're just buying dog food and you would want to use my Amazon link, I'd very much appreciate it. One of the things I was looking for was one that didn't have to be manually balanced. And I think this one is more just a hook it up and go. There is this phone clip here that is magnetic that just sticks onto the gimbal. And I think it just automatically adjusts. So this is the gimbal itself. I've never used one. I don't know how steep the learning curve will be, but it's going to be fun to play with. So there it is. And in case you don't know, a gimbal is used when you're walking or taking motion photography to keep the camera level so that you don't give your audience motion sickness when you're trying to film while you're walking or something like that. So I will definitely have to read the directions, maybe watch a couple of YouTube videos. I also looked at things like how heavy it was, how big the handle was, because as a woman, I didn't want something that was, you know, comfortable for a man's grip. It would have probably fatigued my hands where the controls were. And if I felt like that was going to fit well with my grip, I do have some shoulder issues. So the weight was actually kind of important. This one does not feel heavy, and it feels like it's something that I could easily use either hand without it being that awkward non-dominant hand kind of thing. It also comes with an extension that screws in the bottom here. And it can be an extension handle that brings it further away from you, or it's also a tripod. So you can film yourself. It does have motion tracking, and there's an app that you can connect to. I don't know how compatible my phone is. And my battery died. I'll be back. I learned something very valuable filming this the other day. When my phone loses connection between the plug-in on the phone and the wireless mic, for any length of time, this microphone will shut off. When you restart the phone after the battery died and you charged it, you have to turn the microphone back on. I had this clipped to my bra strap inside my shirt, so I couldn't see the little light to realize that it was off and not on. And so I lost the audio to about the last 3 minutes of my video. It was too long to try to do a narration under the video because the mouth would be moving and the sound wouldn't match. Would have been really annoying. So I just decided I'm going to refilm the end of this. Apparently YouTube is all about authenticity right now, and here we are being authentic. I think what I was saying when I was so rudely cut off by my phone dying was that I wasn't sure if my Samsung A71 was compatible with the DJI Osmo SE app. And that is what controls the face tracking and that sort of thing. So if it's not compatible, I may end up having to send this back and get something else. And I did research it beforehand, but I didn't get a definitive answer on it. So that's going to take some more research. And then I was also showing you that it came with this nice little carrying bag. So you can put it in here and toss it in your bag and take it with you, which is great. It also came with a charging cord. And then there are these little black pads. They're sticky on both sides, and I don't really know what they're for. So I have to figure that out. There is a QR code that you can scan to get more information, and they need to do some reading and YouTube video watching. There is a quick start guide, but honestly, it wasn't really helpful. So if you have any get started quick with the gimbal tips, let me know. And thank you for hanging out with me today. Good luck to all of you who are on this YouTube growth journey with me. Please share your successes and your challenges in the comments below so we can encourage and uplift each other as we all travel on this journey to monetization together. See you next week.